friends, and welcome to the CUInsight Network. I'm Robbie Young, Vice President of Strategic Growth here at CUInsight, and it's my job on this show to have conversations with thought leaders who support the credit union community. In this episode, we'll identify issues affecting credit unions and have a discussion on best practices so that we can all gain a few insights where we can learn and improve to our credit union space. My guest on today's show is Chris Felton, President and CEO at Corporate Central Credit Union. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
You bet. It's a delight to be with you, Robbie, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and jump right in. Most of us didn't grow up thinking we get to work with credit unions. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I'm not going to date myself, but as a kid, it definitely was an astronaut for sure. Everything that was going on in the space race and that time frame, and I'll let you guess when that was, really wanted to become an astronaut for sure. As I navigated into high school, obviously you get pretty close with your teachers and all that learning environment. I wanted to be a teacher and a football coach. My mom always wanted me to write for a living because she thought I was a great writer. Typical mom play there. But once I hit college, it was business school all the way and right into finance.
Well, I think if we had a running tally of astronauts in our audience pool, it would be pretty high, to be honest. So what was your journey like to your current role as president and CEO at Corporate Central Credit Union?
Sure. Well, right out of college, you graduate with this finance degree and you want to conquer the world. And I had all these ambitions of being high stakes finance and, being downtown Chicago, maybe New York, Wall Street. So anyway, I got my feet wet in the corporate world, if you will, starting with employment at MGIC, Mortgage Guarantee Insurance Corporation in Milwaukee. And it was downtown. It was about 1,500 employees. And I thought I was all that. And then realized in a pretty short period of time that I was pretty low person on the totem pole of about 1,500 employees and kind of just felt like a number. So I started looking around a little bit, and at the time, Corporate Central, again, I'm going to date myself, in the newspaper, they had a blind ad, and I answered it, and it was for this thing called a corporate credit union, and I had no idea what that was. But long story short, I eventually became their first rep back in 1990. I was their first rep that was ever on the road for them. And at the time, we were Wisconsin Corporate Central Credit Union. So I got a chance to go around the whole state of Wisconsin and visit and meet with and sell to and develop relationships with roughly almost 500 credit unions in the state at that time. And so that's kind of how I got into the movement, if you will. Then I just, fell in love with it and just the whole ethos of what credit unions are about, how they focus on their members, the nonprofit aspect of it. It married a passion, if you will, of doing good with a career, which I thought was pretty cool. So over the years, I just climbed the ladder, as they say, over the next 20 years to finally end up and find myself in the position that I'm in now, which was 2016. So it's been quite a ride, 30 years for Corporate Central, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
For not trying to date yourself, there's a lot of math being done by our listeners right now, I'm sure.
I'm certainly aware of that. I stood up in front of our annual meeting this year, 450 employees, and I told them all that I was just about celebrating my 36th birthday, and I brought the house down with that. So yeah, we can imagine.
So can you talk a little bit more about Corporate Central Credit Union and where and how they add value to the credit union space?
Sure. Just a little history. Corporate credit unions were initially started to provide liquidity for the credit union system or the credit union movement. It became an opportunity for credit unions to be less reliant on other financial institutions. And so that was kind of the birthplace of corporate credit unions. And, there's 11 of us in the country now. Pre the financial crisis, there were a lot more, but like everything else, there's been a lot of consolidation and mergers going on. But we serve, and by the way, we did drop Wisconsin from our name. We got really creative with a marketing firm and paid them a lot of money to have us tell us to get rid of Wisconsin. So now we're just Corporate Central Credit Union. We have about 65 employees and many scattered throughout the country. We serve 450 or so credit unions and credit union associations spread out over 32 states from essentially Maine to Hawaii. So it's quite a scattering and quite a diversity of credit unions there. Just like credit unions are structured, our member credit unions and associations, they own us. Just like members of a natural person credit union own their credit union. We have a democratic structure with volunteer boards, just the same as a credit union. So essentially, you think of us as an aggregator. We provide investment options, liquidity options, money movement, in other words, payments, and dozens of other services that help credit unions serve their members. But the power is really in the aggregation. We've all heard economies of scale, right? Well, that's part of what our benefit that we derive for our members is that we can use that scale to provide lower costs, more efficiencies, and more entry into more markets. So that's really where we're focused on. We also have 2 CUSOs, credit union service organizations, to serve credit unions. Quantify is our balance sheet optimization CUSO. Think ALM, asset liability management. Think loan participations, broker-dealer services for securities, and a whole host of analytics and consulting practices. On the other side, we have another CUSO called Interlutions. That CUSO provides employee benefit services to credit unions and their business accounts. So think healthcare, dental, wellness, those types of services.
Awesome. That makes a ton of sense. Thanks for sharing that with us. So a primary area of interest for many of our credit union listeners is fostering innovation and adapting to technological advancements. How can credit unions leverage emerging technologies to enhance member engagement and satisfaction?
Wow, this is a loaded question, Robbie. I tell you, technology is changing so fast. And about 4 years ago, we embarked on a mission at Corporate Central to pivot and become, we'll always be a credit union at our core, don't get me wrong, but we pivoted to become a technology firm delivering financial services. And I think that's the mindset that most credit unions or financial institutions have to really embrace, because the world is so much driven by technology now. Members want the Amazon experience. Amazon has spoiled all of us. That's what they want. They want fintechs and API integrations. It can get you there. It just takes the commitment and the resources and determination. Credit unions have to partner with, and in some cases, own fintechs. There's a number of consortiums that have started up now that enable that ownership and that kind of like primary seat at the table to help do that. They need to be nimble and fearless when it comes to failure. Do it fast and move on. And that's what the secret ingredient is with the fintechs and those focused on technology. Well, the other thing is, I think credit unions need to look beyond legacy cores that are out there. And that's what we did as well. The legacy cores just aren't built in the platforms that are necessary to really adopt the fintechs of the world and really help innovation thrive. So that's a couple of key points. Beyond that, I would say, get out there, attend Money 2020, attend Finovate, attend Venture Tech, consider Money 2020 Europe or even Asia. When you start looking at what's happening across the pond, that's coming here. And if you start looking at what's happening in Asia, that's going to be here in probably 10 or 12 years. So those are the types of innovations that are going on in the technology and the fintech space. And you really need to have your finger on the pulse of that. I will say that AI and embracing AI can't come fast enough. AI will make it easier to adopt and adapt. Credit unions just must embrace AI. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to permeate everything we do from a systems and technology standpoint.
That's amazing. And I really appreciate you mentioning going to those international events, as that can really be an indicator of what we're seeing to come. So could you share a little bit about your platform, which is Bistro, which centralizes credit union transaction and enhances operational efficiency, and the opportunity that it presents for credit unions to pivot from traditional solutions?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So you got to rewind about 4 years ago. We were looking at what we felt, we were trying to evaluate, like through a SWOT analysis, what were some of our greatest threats. And we really identified the fact that it was our current legacy core. Obviously, as a corporate credit union, there's no core system out there that really meets the needs of a corporate credit union. So consequently, most of us took a core that a credit union uses, a legacy core, and then built all these ancillary services and jobs around it. And they got very cumbersome and easy to break and whatnot. So we embarked on replacing our core, and we did that with Bistro. It's an open banking API first platform. And we built this platform, like I said, it's API driven, which means that we can connect all of our services and providers and credit union services providers with self-serve, frictionless access and processing. So that was kind of the table stakes. We replaced every service that we had with enable it through the platform Bistro. So as I like to say, that built the foundation. Now in phase 2, we're underway building the really cool house on top of that foundation. And it's underway, and it is literally connecting credit union service providers, cores, digital banking platforms, fintechs into Bistro through the APIs so that credit unions can leverage their data and benefit from that AI. Using AI and Bistro to identify and really mitigate fraud in our money movement module. Our money movement module consists of ACH, instant payments, checks, just all different kind of wires, all the different kind of transactions that if you talk to any credit union, they'll say that one of the biggest issues they have right now is fraud. And so having all that data and having it accessible and overlaying it with AI within Bistro is going to be a powerful tool, and we're pretty excited about it. I think it can help save credit unions a lot of money, time, and resources, just trying to identify that. The other thing that we're building into Bistro is an AI marketplace, and this will consist of AI agents to enable AI as a service for members. So a lot of times credit unions may not be able to afford or have the technical expertise or the wherewithal to really deploy AI and use it to their advantage. But if you think about like the app store, how you go in there and you can get any app that you want to meet your needs. Well, these would be agents within that app store. So a credit union, let's take a fraud one, for example. They could take our app agent or our fraud agent that we've trained and submit a file to it, and then have the AI generate the outputs that would tell them where there's potential for fraud. Same thing with member churn. We've developed about 10 or 12 different use cases right now. So we're in the early stages of training those bots or agents, if you will, to enable AI as a service for our members.
Sounds like a busy time over there. And as someone who is spoiled by Amazon, I totally get it. So the credit union industry is increasingly embracing partnerships with fintech companies to drive innovation and enhance member services. How do fintech partnerships influence the development of platforms like Bistro, and what role do they play in enhancing the services and experiences offered to your member credit unions?
Sure, great question. Yeah, it seems like everything we talk about nowadays is fintech and AI, but it's the world we live in, right? So the thing about fintechs is beyond the technology, which obviously they're all focused on technology, is they're the ultimate in nimble and creative innovation. So credit unions need to lean into that as best they can. And I mentioned earlier some of the ways in which that can be done. But fintechs were really the driving force in the planning stages of when we were building Bistro. We sat down and we just looked at, okay, how can we position a platform that is attractive to fintechs and enables that capability easily frictionless through one platform versus all these interconnections. It's one of the things that credit unions complain about the most is they have all these various systems that they don't talk well to each other. And that's what the API integration, tight, seamless integration can create, is get beyond those barriers so that you can offer that Amazon experience to your members, if you will. Again, credit unions need to start looking beyond their legacy cores to open banking platforms that offer the plug and play efficiencies and innovations. And I think if they just have that mindset and lean into it, there's plenty of opportunities out there for them to leverage that powerful data they have. At the end of the day, if you asked Amazon, Google, Facebook, what their most prized or important commodity is, it's the data. And that's the way it has to be in the financial services and certainly in the credit union space as well. that data will enable you to enrich those experiences and secure those members and their services with you.
As you look to the future, what is Corporate Central Credit Union's focus on the road ahead?
It's hard to look too far into the future because everything changes so fast, Robbie. But if you were to look at our dashboard right now or our roadmap, you'd see fraud, 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 and more fraud. Not that we're creating fraud, we're trying to mitigate it, but that's really a focus across all channels, really focus on. I already talked a lot about that, but just revolution. One of the other areas where we really are looking to revolutionize how credit unions manage their balance sheets and execute transactions, specifically in their investment portfolio and in their lending portfolio, by building comprehensive balance sheet management and optimization platform. This is kind of like a platform inside of a platform. So it'll be delivered through Bistro, but it's through a number of partnerships that we're creating. And we're doing something that, frankly, hasn't been done. Think of how easy it is to trade equities for yourself, let's say, with a Schwab account. You can go in there, you can do a little research, and you click, boom, boom, and your trade is done. It is at a snail's pace slow, dependent upon third parties to do any of that in the fixed income space, what credit unions typically invest in or loan participate in. So we're building out a platform that we believe is no one else has right now that will enable ALM modeling, liquidity modeling, CECL modeling, budgeting modeling, online investment trading, online loan trading, investment trade simulation, all tied into a comprehensive platform. So a credit union can, before they make that buying decision or that participation decision, they can fully model it through their balance sheet to see exactly how it impacts their assets and liabilities. So they're able to make smart decisions beforehand, not modeling afterhand. So we're pretty excited about that. Beyond that, offers self-service. No longer are you going to be dependent upon a broker sourcing some product and then bringing it to you and not knowing if that product may be self-serving or not. But this way, credit unions can easily sort through tens and tens of thousands of CUSIPs to find the investments that fit their need that they have at that time based on the parameters they put in. And then they can perform on the fly what-if scenarios to really make sure that that is an instrument that's going to meet their needs today and down the road when markets change.
Well, as a CUSO advocate, I love to hear it. So to wrap up the show, we like to have some fun with some rapid fire questions to let our listeners really get to know you better. The questions are rapid, but your answers certainly don't have to be. Do you think you're ready?
I am ready, Robbie. Go.
Awesome. So who is someone in your life that is a great leader and what makes them great?
The CEO when I came to Corporate Central in 1990, Mark Schrader, definition of servant leader.
Awesome. Shout out. If you're going to splurge on something and you really want to treat yourself, what's one thing that you might invest a little bit in?
I got to tell you, I'm a vintage auto nut. And again, this will date me. 1965 Mustang convertible. I had one when I was a kid. It was vintage then. And I want another one.
All right. So we'll be on the lookout. So if you are traveling for work, what is one city you're most excited to visit, whether that's for a conference, client visit, or just traveling for fun?
So this one was easy. I recently went to a conference at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, and I could live there.
I have heard a lot of great things about the Broadmoor and have seen a couple conferences have been there. Haven't gone yet, but I will have to make sure it's top on the list.
Yeah, you got to go.
What is one book that you think everyone should read?
In business, if you're looking to build a culture of innovation and a culture of engagement, Kill the Company by Lisa Bodell.
Ooh, I like it.
There's an exercise in there called Kill the Stupid Rule. I've done it in 2 different lives, if you will, and it can be life-changing for your company if you're willing to follow it. It's a challenge, though.
We'll be sure to link to that in the notes so that everyone can see if they're ready for that challenge too. So what is your best hack for creating balance and integration between your work life and your life life?
Really simple. Keep it simple. Faith, family, and work in that order.
I like it. So we'll be sure to link to everything we talked about in the show notes today. But my last question for you is, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share or asks of our listeners?
Yes, I want to share something that I share with my entire staff, all our employees every year, right around Christmas time. Google up Attitude is Everything story by Francie Baltazar Schwartz. It's a story that if I pull it out and I read it a couple times a year. Attitude is Everything. It's an awesome read.
I like it. We'll be sure to link to that as well. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being on the show. Stay well, and thanks to all of our listeners today for tuning in to the CUInsight Network. We'll be back again next time.